Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good to see you, Paul Trani here. Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Barbara. I see you out there on YouTube. Let me give you guys a warm welcome. Excuse me. Steve, what's up? Biola, Mamudel, how you doing? Sean, Cody Bear. Yeah, my voice is just getting warmed up. I'm just realizing it's the first time I've spoken all day. But I'm so happy to be here because this is my first stream of 2023, which we're going to cover the color of the year and a lot of basically color theory and application, which I'm really excited about. Have a number of projects going on here on my screen, and yeah, it's going to be fun. We can get this party started, if you don't mind. Shall we? Shall we do this? Let's do this. And yes, welcome everyone. Let's do this. Let me switch on over. We'll dive into today's masterclass. So it's all about mainly color theory and applications. So I kind of want to split it down the middle like that. And I'm glad you guys are here. So I feel like it's been a month since I've streamed. It feels like forever. Oh, the audio is out of sync. Oh, that is strange. Maybe this camera is better. I can't really hear it, to be honest with you. But it could be one of my cameras. Yeah, so maybe this camera is better. So I don't know. Don't mind this. Like, I cracked myself in the lip with my racket again last night, playing pickleball with my paddle, as it's called. So that's why I got, like, don't let that distract you. But maybe this is a little bit better. So we will see. Maybe this camera is better. That's going to be my main one. So anyways, let me know if you could see it, Cody. But I'll just switch over. I'll be a little bit smaller down here. And let's dive into color and color theory and all that stuff. And yeah, as you might have heard about, Viva Magenta is the color of the year, which is right here. This looks gorgeous. Oh, still out of sync. So that is that's what's going on. And let's try this. I don't know if this is gonna change at all. There we go. Just changed the audio a little bit. So anyways, this is the color of the year. We can kind of dive into Pantone's site, all about it, right? So it's supposed to be sophisticated. We could read a little bit about it. Color of the year, Viva Magenta, vibrates with vim and vigor. Oh, look at you using your fancy words. It's a shade rooted in nature, descending from the red family, signifying a signal of strength. It's brave and fearless, and pulsating color with exuberance promotes joyous and optimistic celebration, writing a new narrative. So here's a bunch of words that were like, hey, this is what this color means. And we do get into color meaning, which I think is fascinating, which I want to talk about. So again, Viva Magenta, shade rooted in nature, which you can find reds in nature a lot of times, right? So that's why it's a warm color like berries, things like that, of course, is found in nature. And we can actually jump to that right now. Actually, let's go to sort of the color meaning or emotion with color. Let's jump right over there. So like all colors actually have meaning, as you may or may not be aware of. So we have this red. Well, I'd say it's between red. It's more like this royalty color, right? But again, it's between these two colors. So you have red that equals excitement. Yes, it's found in nature. So are purples to a lesser degree. Blue is found in, like, say, water, for instance. But every color has basically a meaning. So we could talk about these. There's a reason why a lot of brands are the colors that they are, right? So again, greens, nature. If you want to really put somebody at ease, go with these colors because you find them in nature and it's like, oh, green land. Oh, blue water. I feel safe. You want something exciting? Jump up to the red and it's like, oh, excitement, energy, blood. Things like that. So yeah, optimism with yellow, but yellow also like excites as well. It's like a very optimistic color and exciting color. So you have these warm tones and then you get into the cool tones. And then don't forget that black is a color, white's a color, gray's a color too. So there is that. Reverb Mike, yellow is scary. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, yellow is... I don't think you want to paint a room, yellow. I hear you don't want to paint a room pink too. That could be an issue too. Because like some of these really exciting colors, can you really relax if a room is painted all red or all yellow? So, yeah, who knows? Or you'd be like my room where the colors are always changing. But there's a reason why a lot of, like, say, nurses and scrubs are these usually warmer, more calming colors. So there is that. So anyways, color meaning, I think it's just kind of fun to keep that in mind. Blue forever. I hear you. Shout out to blue, which happens to be, and we could add that right in here. I'm just working in Illustrator. This is a good maybe 40% of the population's favorite color is blue. Rightfully so. It's like, hey, when there's blue skies, there's not a storm. When there's like blue clear water, it's like, oh, all this comfort that I feel when I see blue, just like what is behind me. I didn't see the bright pink stove on HGTV recently. I did. We did just stay at Trixie Motel in Palm Springs. And we stayed in the Flamingo room, which is all pink. So on that note, yeah, that's the thing. And you know what? I was able to sleep just fine. So here we have all of our colors. We want to use colors for a reason, with a purpose. So that's another thing I'd add over here. In fact, I feel like I should have a notes layer. Let's just add a new layer. Use color for a reason, not to just decorate a page. Not to just decorate. All right, so you want to do it with a reason. That's the short of it. Okay, but notice that even right now, I'm already using colors. So you really can't get away from using color, right? Here I'm using black, I'm using white. Could mean luxurious, right? What do we say? Power right over here, purity. That's kind of where this ends up. Really straightforward power, purity sort of situation. Reliability, if you will. Sorry, this stuff is not centered. But if we do a breakdown of all the industries too, let's turn this on. All the different industries, please tell me what happened to all that stuff. Oh, don't really have it moved over. Wait for it, folks. Wait for it. I got a little out of whack, but there we are. So you have all these industries. So if you're creating a logo for a restaurant, you want to end up in probably these warm tones, right? So we have like, McDonald's, for instance, is like within these warm tones. Most restaurants are within these warm tones. You get into finance, environment. Yeah, you want stability here, right? You want something like alternative energy. It's going to end up in the greens. So that's kind of how it all breaks down. Is black and white or white really a color? Well, technically, I guess black, it depends on how you want to look at it. If you're referring to light interacting with an object, black is all of the colors, right? And white, might be the absence of color. But the reverse of that is also true. It's like white kind of is, it's whether you're doing an additive use of color or subtractive use of color. So how's that for a tricky answer? Healthy restaurants tend to be green. Good call. Thank you so much for mentioning that. So you might have a balance of these two. And when you get into color combinations, that's a whole other thing. Clever. You bringing up browns and green. I'm really into these, sort of tertiary colors. Because what is Viva Magenta? It's a tertiary color. Where is it? I had it turned on at one point. You know, this is basically a tertiary color is what it comes down to. If not sort of multiple levels deep. So let's kind of focus on that now that let me do one more thing since I have so much content prepared and I mean to post this to Instagram. So you have all of this ready to go for you. Yes. Oh, Viola, I'm so glad you guys are talking about color combinations because I think that's important. I think we would talk about this all day long, but let's just take a look at some examples because you guys are bringing up sweet greens, some of these others. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those in terms of, say, brands, right? So here we have all the brands that deal with. Let's do Shift F. Or not. There we are. Oh, I was there. Shift F, we'll go into presentation mode, which is where we're at now. So it makes it a little cleaner. You know, exciting. Oh, yeah. Netflix, exciting. Coke. Oh, yeah, sure, exciting. Adobe, exciting. Right. Just kind of, I dropped in some logos here, basically, that coincide with all the different colors. So, again, I mentioned McDonald's. There we have that. Best Buy. Looks like those two are offset, but... you know, supposed to spark joy, right? You want trust in your health system or say transportation would be a good call for blue. Too many examples for blue, by the way. I think there's so many. What I had probably a tougher time with was whites, grays, and sometimes purples. Like Taco Bell kind of leans into the purplish type colors, but it's supposed to be a royal color. And personally, I think purple isn't used enough. Like it has such a positive connotation. It's such a you hardly find it in nature. It used to be really expensive to make it, to make the dye, to dye clothes that color. So that's why it became a royal color. Really only rich people could afford to dye their clothes purple. So that's why it ends up being a royal color. So I think that's fascinating. We can get into blacks, stability, power, you know. Just really strong. Lots of high-end brands end up leaning toward this minimalist approach, if you ask me. Yes, blue is a popular color, favorite color, and means trust. Like, you're exactly right, Kita. You can't go wrong with blue. Here's the thing with that. Like, what shade of blue are we going with? And that's where I think things get really interesting. When you talk about shades, tints, and color combinations. So that's what I want to get into now. And yeah, I will share this with everyone. But let's take a step back to the very beginning of the color wheel. What do we have here? It's like the first colors you supposedly start seeing. And I'm sorry, this looks offset a little bit. Is that offset? Oh, no, it's okay. Are these primary colors, like as a child, you start seeing these colors start jumping out at you. So that's why a lot of children's toys are primary colors, because they're exciting. And they're some of the first colors that kids can see. And then we get into secondary colors. Bam, bam, bright colors. Like, again, children's toys, things like that. Get into tertiary color. This is where actually things I think get a little bit more interesting. And what do we have here? We have something close to the Viva Magenta. So as you get deeper into, like, start dividing up these colors more, it tends to lean more sophisticated, in my opinion. And whether that's how our eyes evolved, who knows? You know, that's also fascinating. It's like we kind of break down all these colors. Like, it's fascinating to me that, like, butterflies have more than 4 cones in their eyes. They could see so many more colors, or the simple thought that more colors exist out there that we can see just blows my mind. In 2022, a shade of blue called Egyptian made a comeback. It was much revered in those old pharaoh days. Oh, I don't know what you mean in 22. You might need to specify. But yeah, maybe Egyptians thought blue was like pretty awesome. I don't know. Everything is blue, yawn. Thank you for that, Clever. I agree. Everything is blue, yawn. That's why I'm like, yeah, everything is this a boring primary blue. But if you start to break it up, and that's why I want to get into application, when you start to get into these other interesting levels of blue, where blue and purple get combined, or blue and green, this is where the color gets a little bit more interesting. It's like this pops out to me more than a standard blue. So I'm all about it. Sounds actually strange if we say they can see more colors. Oh, 2022. Thank you, last year. A blue called Egyptian made a comeback. It was much revered in those old pharaoh days. Huh, fascinating. Fascinating. I should slow down and read stuff. But I'm going fast because I have a lot to cover. Because what have we covered already? This is all art history. This is huge. This art history. This is color theory. Right? Everything. I'm not teaching you guys Strata Studio Pro, because that's what I learned in college. But what does stick with me is my color theory class. If you're curious, like, and I've talked about this on the stream before, the Itton's Elements of Color. So I think most of the things I know about is from this book, The Elements of Color. And it's just, 100 pages, not pretty light on the text, but I think it's pretty awesome as a resource for color. So I'm going to paste that into chat just so you guys have it. I refer to it as my color Bible, and I'm totally into it. So sorry for ignoring chat other places. Barbara, Frosty, good to see you guys. Awesome. Okay, so this book is fascinating. What's funny is most of it's not in color, because it's an older book, but there are splashes of color. We'll get into some of this stuff as well, right? It's all going to be the same thing, right? I love how this is broken down. Like I just said, primary colors right here, secondary colors, tertiary colors, pointing to that tertiary. How cool is that? I wish I've made that version instead, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Yes, please check it out. It's so good. And I just sent you the PDF, but buy the book, buy it. I have it somewhere on my back shelf or somewhere. I know it's somewhere around here, but it's awesome. So we know all about the color wheel. We got all our colors. Everybody's asking about color combos. Or actually, no, let's take that. These are all our colors at like full saturation. But what you do from there is you start adding shades. And now, again, things get more interesting. It's like, oh, that blue that was so boring is getting a little bit more interesting as we add more shade to it. What also gets interesting is that we start adding tints to it. Tint is going to be adding white. So how can we make this blue look a little bit more interesting if we add more white to it? And how does that change things? All right. I'm just talking about terminology right now. But when we get into combining colors, that becomes pretty cool as well. So hopefully this isn't too much. I feel like a lecturer this is basically everybody gets 3 credits, 3 college credits for watching today. Ooh, Marsha, you have the actual paper book. That is so awesome. That's so good to hear. So you are right. In fact, it's often the color wheel. Let me check. I'm going to feel dumb if it is in color guide, which I don't use. So we have all of our colors. What we also made here are our tints and our shades. They're all right here as well. Our tints are up here. Our shades are here. Our pure colors are right in the middle. You could actually change this. Like if you're working on something and you have a logo, and let me actually... Boy, the one thing I did not pull up is like a logo. But if I'm working on something, even this Viva Magenta, what is the opposite of Viva Magenta? We don't know, or do we? Because check this out. In Illustrator, we can go right over here and we could find the complementary color right here. Bingo. This is the complementary color to Viva Magenta. So let's zoom out. Let's move that over. Select this one. And it's this little fly-up menu, complement. Boom. Right? We could also do this. We could take this. We could invert both of these colors. which I just like this as an option. Coming down here, we'll select both of them, and then we'll invert those. Oop. Let's invert these colors. Let's invert this one. And let's invert this one. They look very similar. Maybe I'll pick let me just pick like a blue. And I'm actually not 100% sure what invert means, because in our color wheel, so let's go right over here. We know what complementary colors are, and then we have split complement, which is, again, these are just ways to, this is the way to pick colors, is what this comes down to. This might be your primary color. Select all these. You know, or if your primary color is blue for whatever reason and you're looking for colors that will work well together, well, you'll go over here to the side, you know, and you could do that split complement. You know, your triadic where you're splitting as well. Here's a key thing. This is where things get screwed up. If you start turning this on, and this might sound confusing, all of these are going to be the same sort of tone, the same tint or shade. If I take this and I decide to pick a really dark color and maybe this one's lighter, this is going to be a horrible color combo because there's nothing tying it together, right? So you need to tie it together with the intensity of the color, the shade of the color, the tint of the color, or the color itself. So I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. Analogous as well. Where can you learn about a lot of these? Check this out. We'll go one other place. We're going to go to color.adobe.com. All right. And here we are. Our lovely color wheel. Everything I just told you in Illustrator, we have in here. So I mentioned complementary color. Click. Here's our complementary colors. And as we move these are tied together. The reason this is harmonious is as I add them all the same tint, it's all going to match, if you will. So it all works nicely. That blue doesn't look so blue on my computer monitor, more like a bluish purple. You bring up a great question out there, because it's like, what is my viewing experience? Are all monitors the same? Am I viewing this on a phone and all that fun stuff? But the key thing here, guys, is that these are all going to be like tied together. So you take this primary color, you squish them together, you're getting that nice color harmony, as we say. You know, we can do the same thing with split complement, right? We can add more saturation of that color. It's all just going to be very Christmassy in this case, but awesome. So anyways, play with that. You can see how it all works. Hopefully you guys find this entertaining and valuable, but this will make or break a design. That's why I think this is like so important. So I want to get into sort of like the application of all of this, right? Compound, shades, right? So here's shades. You could literally go with, you know, a shade of one color on down the line. But check this out. You ready for this? Let's say we end up, you know, picking some colors. Right here. Accessibility tools, because there's a certain percentage of people out there that are actually like colorblind or just have a hard time dealing with the contrast ratio of colors. So if I take this maybe down a little bit, see what happens? It's saying, hey, there's not enough contrast. As I drag this down, it's like, whoa, Paul, there's not enough contrast between these colors, and it's going to be hard for people to read. So keep that in mind. We're doing this contrast checker. And there's also colorblind safe off to the side. Isn't this awesome? Let's take a look at the no conflicts, but check this out. As I move, say, this yellow over closer to this orange, it's going to be like, whoa, there's these lines. It says, whoa, buddy, there's a conflict between these two colors. It even connects them. It says, hey, there's a conflict here. People might not, if you're colorblind, you might not be able to tell those two colors apart. Isn't that fascinating? So keep that in mind, even as you start playing with colors, like, is this going to be an issue for people that are like color blind? Boom. We also have that same issue right there. These two are connected right there. Sweet. It is very hurtful. Dear contrast, I love you. I'm not going to lie, like, even as I've gotten older, I've appreciated contrast more. I feel like I grew up, you know, making very small type, gray type on a white background, and I thought it was cool, but it was just hard to read. So anyways, and I'm loving it. Like, this actually is not bad. Like, I also want to kind of have a session that talks about your sort of like color signature, because I feel like everybody has sort of like their color personality, like who colors they lean toward and colors that are in their work, which I find fascinating. So what is your color personality? There's even a color game that we can try. Again, we won't go through all of this. Oh, shoot. Oh, this is just a memory game. That's right. And I already messed up. Okay, start. Okay, so it's literally a memory game. So anyways, so we've done this. We've learned about colors. Let's play with a design, guys. I want to play with some designs. Oh, but I'm not done with my cool document because I spent so much time on this and I want you guys to get a lot out of it. We talked about color emotion, the color industry, and then the brands, right? We have all of that. We could talk about harmonious, the proportions, because you know yellow is so intense. It's like, whoa. The proportion you use yellow to purple, and these are the complementary colors, is like this. If this is mostly yellow, right? This is just too intense. The color intensity is just too high. It's too intense of a color. So these are like the proportions that you'd use of these colors, right? Because not all colors are weighted equally. And check this out. If we take a step back, we'll actually jump into ins elements of color. We'll scroll down. So many fascinating things that I could talk about. I could like talk about this stuff all day long. That's such a good page. Let's get there. Here we go. So here's the contrast of extension. So here's like a color wheel version. You know, you could have large amounts of blue. That's okay. But these warmer colors tend to be more intense, so you want to use those more sparingly. Ooh, there's a color palette board game called Hues and Cues. Oh, I'm all over it, Penny. I love it so much. That sounds awesome. So you can see right here how we split those colors up, the intensity of those colors. Here we get into color vibration. Another thing, you guys ready for this? This is the last thing I'll talk about in this book, and then go buy it. Your eye has simultaneously requires the when you have any given color, the eye simultaneously requires the complementary color and will generate it spontaneously if it's not already present. So I notice it right here. I'm not sure how it's coming across, but this gray tends to look blue, tends to have a cooler tint since it's surrounded by this red, right? So that should be the case for all of these. Like this gray some of these grays might feel warmer on these cool colors. Right, so you guys noticing that? I notice it most with the red. And let me just pause on the screen for a second. These grays, it's the same gray square across all of them. But obviously, the color next to it will influence that color. So I think this is fascinating. Your eye has a tendency to add the complementary color. If, say, it's surrounded by red or surrounded by blue, that color will change. Fascinating. All right, so that's it. Like I said, all I'll talk about there. We can see where this comes from. We can start to combine these colors together. Let's go down here. Like this is what everybody's into. It's like we'll have, you know, if Kita's gonna make a logo or do something with her name, she could decide to do. Add those two colors. Hey, you're thinking Paul told me that they're complementary colors. I put those together. No, look at how much they vibrate. And red is like the worst when it comes to screens, right? Tanya, you're right on time. You are never late. You're exactly where you need to be, not only today in this live stream, but in life. But keep in mind, when you combine these colors, when they're right next to each other, they act differently. Look at how much vibration. This is probably the extreme case. So we can take a look at that and, you know, try different colors. We can try as we dip away from the from that red. It's going to be a little bit easier on our eyes. And even when it comes to picking this color, we can decide, you know, do we want to add more sort of like tinted different reds? That's easier. Do we shift the color as well? Or add some shading to it as well, right? So that's all I'm doing at this point. We could try different colors. Personally, what I would do, because I think what looks best, is go monochromatic. I think this looks pretty good overall, provided I'm not changing the green. So, Kita, hopefully I don't mind if I use your name. Penny. Penny decides to do her little color, her color signature. Let's see what we got in here for the fun curls. There we go. Fun curls. Same situation, complementary colors. Isn't vibrating as much. This could work out okay. It's not bad. Am I doing this for a purpose? Like, is yellow Penny's favorite color? What am I trying to get? What's my point here? What is my point? Right? And that's when you need to start asking these bigger questions of, you know, color meaning. Do I want this to be more of a royal, exciting, optimistic view of things? That's what I'm getting right in here, just so you know. And that looks pretty good. We could start to shift to these colors. In fact, I'll select both this text and the background, and we'll go into Edit Colors, Recolor Artwork. And by the way, before I even go that far, since I mentioned different ways to invert and complement colors, right in here in Illustrator, we can go to Edit Colors, and then we can, you know, convert to grayscale, do a number of things, invert colors here, saturate colors, things like that. So it can be done in here. Anytime you have those three dots, by the way, it means, hey, you know what? There's going to be a dialog that pops up that allows you to adjust. And we want to turn on preview, but essentially we're adding more color, like desaturating it, which is the equivalent of like tinting it. And we can play with that colors that way. Now we can go ahead and get into Recolor Artwork because we're saying, hey, you know what? None of those quite do it. We can jump in here. So sorry. Recolor Artwork, edit. And here's our color wheel again. Keeps on popping up. It's everywhere, but makes it super easy to work with. These are tied together. So it's like, hey, I'm always going to be like your complementary color. It's not purely complementary because it's not straight across. Well, let's unlock it. Snap it into place. It actually does not snap, but I'm just going to make it straight across. And now these are complementary colors. We mentioned split complement. Well, let's unlock that. Split complement is to the left or to the right, either side. And now we have our split complement. The key thing is I think it has to be the same distance in order to have like some unity, some uniformity, right? So this alone looks really good. I'm kind of into that. All right. What doesn't work? This is vibrating a little bit. This wouldn't pass the contrast test, that's for sure. But, you know, kind of dipping into this Easter feeling is what I'm getting here. But anyways, just playing around. And hope you're enjoying this. And rules are meant to be broken. So let's click OK. There we go, Penny. Might be a little too pretty, but maybe that's kind of what is psychologically going on. You know, equate Penny with pretty. Really, we're just a couple letters off. Seems to make sense. Ernesto. So, we'll take Ernesto. And I hope you don't mind, Ernesto. I'm stealing your name so I can do some fun stuff here. Let's go with this one. And I don't even want to get into fonts, but like this is a case where like Ernesto's brand might not be so flourishy, if you will. So I actually might need to even change the font. Yeah, I think I am. I changed my mind. I'm changing the font. Ooh, this is cool. Okay, so Ernesto, I hope you don't mind. You know, this is a case where I would love to have you tell me all about yourself and the brand, and what you know, who you are as a. We would sit down and have a whole branding meeting to come up with the font and the colors. But let's just go with this, and we'll just pick two colors. There's so many fun things we can do, guys. I'm so excited about this. What font is so the first one was Lust Script Pro. This second one is Milka. So let's just say, for instance, Ernesto's brand is going to be more bold and in your face, and yeah, just kind of like, just really straightforward. He's a straightforward, honest guy that is, you know, all about just, you know, delivering the truth with kindness. So we'll go with that. You know, do these colors match that? Well, it's certainly not bold. What is bold is if we straight up like went with white. You know, do we go with white and add one other color to give it some pop? If we go all black, that looks almost a little bit too sinister. So let's take those two. Let's flip it. Let's invert it. Invert colors. Boom. Ernesto, straightforward, like trustworthy, bold. Yes, I'm using color. I'm using black. I'm using white. But you guys get the idea, right? Maybe it's too hardcore. We could always scale that back. Or maybe you don't think it's interesting enough. And Ernesto is an interesting guy. So we can go in and just like sort of mess with the color. And I'll just still go into Recolor artwork just because I really love this color wheel. Right? And let's say, hey, you know what? Let's just like give Ernesto is it changing? Or is it highlighted? What is going on? Edit. Recolor artwork. Why am I not? Let's try this one more time. I don't know why it wasn't. Ugh. Why is this not changing? Does anybody know? Okay, we'll select both of these. Recolor artwork. Why is it not? I don't know why it's not changing. That's silly. I'm so sorry, everybody. Undo that a couple times. Anyways, all I was going to do is just like give it a little tint of a color. So if he's trustworthy, he's honest, but you know, we don't want it to seem so sinister. I probably would add a blue, and I would give it a little bit of like, make it a more sophisticated blue with a little bit of green in it. So, you know, do you end up with something like that? I think you have the personality in the font, so you don't, you know, do you need to add a ton of personality in the color? You can, sure. But a lot of, you know, the personality is coming from the font and, you know, just kind of keeping everything else pretty straightforward. All right, so there you go. Anyways, this plane, I'm going to show you a different design, something I'm working on. Swirls. Oh, yeah, let's have some fun playing with colors. And I want to do that in Photoshop because also in the description is sort of also dealing with Photoshop. So I'll make sure I have that file open in the background, if you don't mind. And we'll just do some playing around. Make sure that's open in the background. Oh, great. Lovely. There's a Photoshop beta you guys can get as well. So that was set up to my default. So here's a situation where it's like, actually I was working on sort of a black and white look. Let's take this. And again, I just like the application. In theory, things can be tricky. It's like, okay, let's not, you know, how does this work in the real world? Like, first off, I have this design. And I have this green color everywhere for all these individual elements. So what I'll do is I'll actually select the same fill color, so all that green. And I've shown this like 1,000 times. So many times because I like it so much. But I want to colorize each individual element with a different color. So we'll come in here. You know, it's a matter of doing this. Like, oh, this is going to take me forever to colorize each one of these. So what I can do, instead of selecting each one individually, we'll go to select, same fill color. I'll select my swatches. I'll select pink, teal, yellow, and what other color? Maybe like an orange. Okay, so here's my 4 colors right up here that I want to use. And lastly is this lovely script. Random swatches fill. Based on what is selected, I can go ahead and randomly fill all those different shapes with the swatches I had selected. So let's see what it looks like. Oh, much better. So much fun, right? And that's what I'm going for. So yeah, I'm into the swirls as well. So this is really cool. We'll have our text in here. So this is going to weave in and out. So design I'm still working on, so give me time, right? And yes, I will post that on Instagram. All of these, that's why they're Instagram size, by the way. I'll have all these posted. Let's turn on everything. I'll get everything posted and all that good stuff for you to enjoy. But let's get back to this. Here we are. Find yourself. Right? Find your color profile. Who are you as a person in terms of your color? Right? I think for me, I've been more fascinated with, like, I'm always leaning toward pink and teal. I'm like here. I'm like this, you know, this color is sophisticated, totally into this. It's, again, Viva Magenta. I get into that Viva Magenta, and then I love this, like, teal-ish color. Because it just feels more refined and sophisticated and interesting rather than primary colors. So that's kind of where I'm at, I guess, as a designer. And, you know, you'll kind of find it throughout my work. So let's take this. Let's work on the design a little bit. Resize this. We'll have some in and out action going on. Unfortunately, a lot of this is on its own layer. So let's try to take all the, can I? Let's do a select, same fill color, cut, paste. Let's not do that. Don't mind me as I work on this design. You want to colorize something? Jump in here, live paint bucket. All right, so let's select live paint bucket. Let's turn on this background color. So notice how it's like, okay, well, these aren't really filled with white, but I could fix that. I'll jump in, I'll select white, and I'll just want to, is this not gonna work? What is that? Oh, I don't have anything. That happens to me all the time. I don't have the object selected. So let's select our object. I do that all the time. Now it's selected. Now I should be able to click. There we go. So, sorry I don't have all this done yet. Shame on me. But what am I doing? I'm adding color right in here. And I think these are the correct colors. Also right in here, as I use this live paint bucket, it's sorting through these swatches that I'm using. So keep in mind the background I actually turned to gray. But anyways, let's just go in and do our thing. Let's pick blue. Instead of picking in my swatches panel, I could use my arrow keys. And now I'm selecting, say, yellow. As I select the left arrow, we'll click. Boom, there we are. Let's click in here. Let's go back to this. This is actually pink. We're not going to see that right now. We'll see that later. Oh, yeah, and then I want to add a lot of white, by the way. White, 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 white. All this white. Maybe not right there. This is going to get a little complex. But I'll try to get this just to a point where you guys find it interesting. And then we'll mix up the colors a little bit more. And I'm checking on the time. I have 10 minutes. This is great. So that's time for 10 projects, 15 projects, quite a few projects. I got plenty of time. Plenty of time. But isn't that white looking so good? Like, we needed this white for sure. But the great thing is I could always change this. As long as I have, like, the colors in the right spots, we should be good. Let me know how everybody's doing. How you guys doing? RB's in the house. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Robert. Good to have you here. And if you're joining me from elsewhere, I'm taking a look at Izam as well. Barbara. Out there on YouTube. Which is great. White, 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 more white, more white, more white, more white, more white, more white. Definitely some white over here. Yellow. All right. Summertime in New Zealand. Oh, how dare you bring that up? You lucky sucker. Did everybody have a nice holiday break or nice holiday? Did you guys? Talk to me. Let me know how you've been doing. We'd love to hear. The short of it is I'm doing all these swirls in white, or at least most of them. And because I want to have them overlapping the text. But right now they're absolutely nothing. If you hold down, what is it? Command-Shift-D. This gives you your default, your transparent background. So just so you know, and I'll turn that off, this is what I'm doing. Just changing this from transparent to white. Where are we at? We're over here. Maybe that's easier to see. Okay. All right, we got our colors filled in. Pretty good. Command-Shift-D. Turn that on. Okay. All right. I think we did it. Just going to get a couple more in here and then call it a day. You guys demand to be entertained with art. Make it good, right? You're like, make it happen, Paul. Make it happen. Because with that text, I just need this to overlap. If you guys have a faster way of doing this, I am all ears. Okay, we did the thing. We did the thing. Let's throw some blue in here. Maybe some pink. Who knows? All right, done. Turning that on. Here's our text. Now we can start to play with this some more. Let's expand it. As soon as we used a live paint bucket, we have to expand. We have to ungroup. And the goal is to select everything the same, fill color, which is that white, cut it, and we'll just like paste this on top. We're just going to see what happens. Oh, so that's what I'm going for. Something kind of like that. Yeah. So, all right. So we have somewhat of a design. Sorry that took so long. Still need to adjust the text, all that stuff. But let's work on colorizing a little bit more, and we'll make a couple different versions. In fact, let's just do this because I'm a rebel. We're going to flatten all these into one layer. We'll have design 1. And we're going to just see how this changes by shifting the colors. So we'll take this. We have this bright, exuberant color palette. We'll go into Recolor artwork. Notice how there's no color groups over here because there's no color groups within my swatches panel. So that's why there's nothing over here, because there's nothing over here. By the way, if I want to add some there, we'll go right in here and I'll show you in the swatches panel. You have color properties. So this is the closest thing you have to all of your color wheel and everything. So we could add bright, and what bright's going to look like, is obviously bright. Drag them over here. Now they're going to be available for me to use. Desaturated. Let's grab some desaturated. Just trying as many different saturated. Like a lot of these color combos I'm not a huge fan of. Like even art history, right? We want to make it look more like a Renaissance type look. Let's take that color library or color group. Pop art. Let's grab some pop art. There we go. Different color combos. Not bad. Not bad. I think we got what we need. So take this. We have all our color groups in there. We have it selected still. We'll go into Recolor artwork, and now we can see them stacked up right over here, just like they are here. So I can take this and say, hey, you know what? For these colors, let's move this off to the side. Let's say you're more of a Renaissance person. Boom. Renaissance. This is what we get. A lot of these colors don't have the pop that I wish they did. So we could still come in here, grab these colors. First of all, we could rotate everything. And this is just color wheel stuff, right? Still not giving me the pop that I want. So I'd jump in. I would unlock this. I would say select this color, increase the saturation. Let's really make that pop. There we go. That's more Renaissance style. See that background changing? And then these other colors. Oh yeah, let's get some more green in there. But still trying to stay within that same sort of palette. Click OK. Save changes swatch group. No. There we are. Number 2. Let's go number 3. Edit. Recolor artwork. And let's try pop art. Totally 70s. Do you guys feel it? Yes, Terry White's up next, and I'm into it. So I'll post these to Instagram. That is my time. I appreciate you guys hanging out. And as I get this done, I'll post it to Instagram. So thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys. See ya.